ICS4U. It's about time that we learned how to do a while loop, and I think that some of you have already discovered how to do that. But I'll show you a few examples in IntelliJ now. So I'm going to create a new project in IntelliJ, and I'll go to next, and then next, and I'll call it while loops. Finish. Keep it in this window. When I open this up, I'll go to SRC, right click, new Java class, and call it exactly the same with the same capitalizations, case sensitive. So while loops. I've got to really take care of that Windows Defender. I'll do that sometime. New Java class, while loops. Okay, so I'll make my main method public static void main, capital S for string, args. So everything's set up now. And a while loop is very similar to what you saw in another language, Python, if you've seen that. It's just while, and then the condition in brackets. And the curly braces are added to demarcate the body of the while loop. So I'm going to have a variable that's an integer called count, and I'll set it to 0. And I'll keep looping as long as the count is less than or equal to 100. And we will print out on the screen the value of count. And then finally, we have to increment the counter so it doesn't run into an infinite loop. Remember, the while loop will continue to loop as long as the condition is satisfied. And the condition's highlighted already. It says, while count is less than or equal to 100. As long as that's true, and it's telling me, if I hover over it in IntelliJ, it says the condition is always true. So here's how we can make it so it does terminate eventually. So count starts at 0. What if we did count equals count plus 1? So it'll slowly get larger, and you can see that's no longer highlighted. What's it doing with args here? All right, so I'm going to run my program, and in my terminal, that'll pop up after. So Java has to build it and compile it, and then it has to execute it. It does it all automatically here. And I forgot a semicolon, so add that and try it again. And we should see the numbers 0 to 100, including 100, because we put less than or equal to 100. So that's your first style of while loop. You can scroll up to see that it starts at 0. Let's do another example. So what about counting downwards? So here's an example counting downwards. Just as a review, so example 2, count downwards from 500 to 50 by 25. So we'll have count, and we can reuse, see, I don't have to put int count because count already exists, but I can reuse that variable because the while loop for number 1 was done. I guess we'll put example 1 here, count from 0 to 100, inclusive. So here we go, count equals, and we want to start at 500. The while loop will say, while count is greater than or equal to 50. We will print out the value of count on separate lines. And now here's our increment or decrement rule, the change rule. So we'll do count equals, count subtract 25. So when we run this, I'm going to put some stars here so we can demarcate example 1 and 2. What's going on here? There's a red thing. No, it's fine. One error found. I've got an error somewhere. I'll find out when I run it. Semicolon, yeah, semicolon on the line that I just typed. Good. So run it. And you can see that the last number, well, it's a shorter thing now because we start at 500, then it goes down by 25s, and it goes all the way down to 75, 50. 50 is the last one. If we didn't have greater than or equal to, if we just had greater than 50 in our condition for the while loop, 50 would not be included there, but we'll include it. I'm going to copy and paste this print statement and do the last example now. So in this example, last example, example 3, get a minimum from the user and show all values from the minimum up to 100. So we'll have to use a scanner object here. We'll say scanner. I'm kind of doing 3 programs in one here. So just key YB equals, and it's red. I wonder why it's red. System.in, because it's for the keyboard. So scanner, if you hover over it, you'll see that java.util.scanner cannot resolve scanner. It needs to be imported. Now, if you ever forget that, IntelliJ, you can just click over here and Alt-Enter. It's saying Alt-Enter. So we'll press Alt-Enter. And if I go to the top, look what it's done for me. It's imported the scanner class from java.util. You can either do import java.util.star or just java.util.scanner like it did for us automatically there. Okay, so we have our scanner. We're never using it yet. That's why you have a red line under it. So we're going to say we want to prompt the user. So print enter the minimum. So this is the minimum, the value that we would like it to start at. And we'll create an integer out of that. And we'll call it count. I'm going to take a shortcut here. Just count. So key yb.nextInt. We can be pretty sure that they're going to give us an integer. And while the count is less than 101, so because I use less than and not less than or equal to, I'm putting 101. So it will go to 100. When it gets to 101, it does reach 101 as well, but it doesn't go through the body of the while loop. And look at me, I'm doing the wrong, it's a curly brace, right? So the curly brace is for the while loop. Now we're going to print out on separate lines the value of count and increase count by 1 using count++. So we'll try running this program. And there's an error. Scanner cannot find symbol. Scanner. Oh, I forgot the keyword new. So we need to. Okay, so let's take this opportunity, my mistake, to go over how we use a class to create an object. It's a good review. So we have the scanner class. We're creating the key YB object from the scanner class. That's what you can do with classes. You can create objects from them. And on the left side of the equal sign, we're declaring it and setting aside the memory and saying, okay, Java, we want to create a scanner object called key YB. On the right side of the equal sign, we create it. We do the actual creation or instantiation. Instantiation, the root word there is instance. You're creating an instance of the class in the form of an object. So the keyword new is important. Okay, when we run it now, it should be okay. Unless I have another error. Let's see what happens. And I do have another error. Look at that. So I'm just going to pause here so I avoid future embarrassment, and I'll fix it and then I'll explain what I did. And the reason why it didn't work that well is because count was already defined up above. So usually you would want to do int count, but because remember we have those 2 other programs above, we already have the variable count there. So I'm just going to get rid of the word int in this case, particular case. And when we run it, it's building and it says enter the minimum. So I'll just scroll up here so we can see more. And I will put, let's say 92. So now it's going to show all the numbers from 92 to 100 inclusive, stepping up by 1s. That's the end of the examples for while loops. And now you can loop in Java. Next, we are going to be looking at for loops as well. Until then, see you later.